So as Don mentioned earlier, this morning's theme for the service is Embrace Uncertainty, and it's the first in a worship series entitled Mystery of the Hour. We'll be singing Gathered Here near the top of each service, wrapped around, interwoven with some quotes and readings. Gathered Here is one of my favorites. It means a lot to me because it was the sung invocation at my home congregation up in Waterville, Maine when I was growing up. I think I've probably sung and heard it more times than any of our hymns. And as those of you who have ever stood physically near me during a service will not be surprised to hear, I am a big fan of hymns that don't require much of a vocal range. In one of our readings for this morning, Shu Yong quotes Paramahamsa Nityananda, writing, "There are some moments where you can change the matter and get rid of uncertainty, but there are some moments where you just have to live with it." The balance between getting rid of uncertainty and just having to live with it is indeed subtle and tricky, and it's always changing. But we are called to work on living with uncertainty because, as theologian James Carse tells us, healthy religion encourages a higher ignorance, which enables openness to continual learning and growth. Embracing uncertainty makes us better able to understand and enact a broader range of possibilities than if we claim a false certainty. Let's take, for example, the question of whether extraterrestrial intelligent life exists in our galaxy. On the one hand, the drive to eliminate uncertainty has inspired and does inspire elegant and complex scientific theories and investigations, and I can hardly imagine a world where humans don't strive to learn more about other life in the universe. At the same time, if such striving is not accompanied by a framework of accepting uncertainty, one can easily be overwhelmed by feelings of loneliness and fear when contemplating the cosmos. We are facing multiple existential threats as a species on this planet right now, and it's natural to look up into the sky and hope that if humans are no more, our planetarily unique capacity for awe, wonder, and appreciation will not disappear from the universe with us. I believe that the divine is the sum of all that exists, and that increasing our knowledge of the universe, we are participating in the process of God getting to know God's self. There's a lot of theological pressure in feeling that if humans go, the ability to marvel at all creation goes with us. And yet, there are significant emotional and philosophical reasons to not only be okay with not knowing, but to actively hope that we do not find out anytime soon. More on that in a moment. First, let's affirm that getting rid of uncertainty can sometimes be a good thing. Yes, the desire to reject uncertainty can sometimes be a way to avoid the uncomfortable state of not knowing, but it is also a robust engine of curiosity and rigor and scientific advancement, and we would not be good Unitarian Universalists if we did not acknowledge and celebrate such scientific advancement. When it comes to the question of extraterrestrial life in the universe, we are at a weird and stressful place right now. In the last 100 years, our knowledge of the cosmos has grown exponentially, and yet very basic questions like whether we are the only life in the known universe remain unanswered. Those of us who are called by the fourth principle of Unitarian Universalism to affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning are asked to hold as best we can both the mountains of insight and information that have come from fields like astronomy and astrophysics, while simultaneously accepting that the progress we've made on the most attractive questions in this whole area is at best symbolized by the shrug emoji. It's potentially really great practice for learning to embrace uncertainty. One of the fun places you can go with questions of extraterrestrial life in the universe is theories of why life has not evolved in other places so far as we know. And one of the more fascinating threads you can start pulling at in this realm is the notion that stellar supernovae have been too frequent and powerful in the Milky Way for most of our galaxy's existence to permit the evolution of intelligent life. The theory goes like this. When a large star is at the end of its life, it will collapse in on itself in an event called a supernova, and in the process will send out lots of radiation to its nearby area of the galaxy. Huge amounts of high-energy gamma rays and X-rays are emitted. The radiation can be hugely damaging to life forms and may eliminate any life that is developed on the planets in a very broad swath of space. In fact, the whole inner part of our galaxy is considered by many astrophysicists to be too dense with supernovae for any intelligent life to have developed on planets in that area. If you go too far out from the center, there are not considered to be enough metals in that part of the galaxy for planets to form. Metallicity and frequency of supernovae are two of the variables used to determine the probability of intelligent life at a star a given distance and time from the center of the Milky Way galaxy and its formation. Two additional variables are the star formation rate and the likelihood the planet has existed long enough for intelligent life to evolve on it. We estimate that to be about 4 billion years based on that's how long it's taken so far here on Earth. So for a given location r, t, where r is the radius of the location from the center of the galaxy and t is the time since the star's formation, then in our galaxy, the probability of it being inhabitable, a given star being inhabitable by intelligent life is thus calculated as the product of the star formation rate, the probability of proper metallicity, the probability of enough time for life to evolve, and the probability of a supernova event having killed off some or all of the life on a nearby planet. And so what we're left with is an annulus, or a ring, from about 4 kiloparsecs to about 10 kiloparsecs from the center of the Milky Way galaxy. For Star Wars fans, it may be helpful to note that is a little less than 700 Kessel runs. For Star Trek fans, it may be helpful to know that that's 8 kiloparsecs along the galactic meridian separating Alpha Quadrant from Beta Quadrant. Our sun has an age of about 4.6 billion years, and it is thus close to having the most likely circumstances for having intelligent life, although there are stars with slightly higher ages and lower galactocentric distances that have higher likelihoods of harboring intelligent life. Whew. As Unitarian Universalists, part of the fifth source of wisdom we explicitly claim is humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. This implies that the teachings of astrophysics and the questions that field raises are part of how we live into what Karst describes as how healthy religion encourages a higher ignorance, which enables openness to continual learning and growth. Now, I have to admit that for me, the question of extraterrestrial intelligence was a real test as to how open I am to continual learning and growth. I got caught putting my fingers on the scale. Because when I first heard that for the majority of its existence and the majority of its geography, there have been very explainable reasons why intelligent life has not evolved in our galaxy, I was relieved. As long as future human existence is uncertain, it is comforting to me to know that even if we humans are not in the universe anymore, there's reason to believe that other intelligent life forms might still marvel at the awesome nature of creation. I say that I caught myself putting my finger on the scale because it turns out if you are rooting for humans or other intelligent life forms to exist for the purpose of being able to appreciate the wonder and mystery of creation, you should actually not be hoping that we find evidence of other life forms in our galaxy. Nick Bostrom makes the case for this in his 2008 paper entitled, "Why I Hope the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Finds Nothing." In it, Bostrom addresses the Fermi paradox, which attempts to reconcile two basic facts. The first is that even using the most conservative estimates for all factors involved, there should be at least 100,000 planets in the Milky Way galaxy that have developed intelligent life. The second fact is that we have never observed or interacted with any life on any other planet, intelligent or otherwise. Bostrom's hypothesis is that we have not observed or interacted with any extraterrestrial life forms because there is what he calls a great filter, an evolutionary step that is highly improbable but required for a planet to produce an intelligent interplanetary civilization. He says, you start with billions and billions of potential germination points for life, and you end up with a sum total of 0 extraterrestrial civilizations that we can observe. The great filter must therefore be powerful enough, which is to say the critical steps must be improbable enough, that even with billions of rolls of the dice, one ends up with nothing. No aliens, no spacecraft, no signals, at least none that we can detect in our neck of the woods. So that all sounds good and makes sense, but it's the next deduction that Bostrom makes that challenges my ability to be open to continual learning and growth somewhat. He says if there is a great filter, it could either be behind where we are as humans or ahead of us. If it's ahead of us, that means a lot of intelligent life forms have evolved to the point we are at now, but there is some factor that we don't know that our species will encounter in the future that has wiped out every previous civilization who has progressed to this specific point. If the great filter is behind us, though, then we may be a very rare species that has a chance to thrive where nearly all others have perished. How this relates to the search for extraterrestrial life is that if we find life forms on other planets, it means that we are less likely to be beyond the great filter already. For example, if the great filter is the beginning of life itself, then Earth is way ahead of the game and humans have a shot at existing for a long time yet. But if the great filter is something we haven't yet achieved, like interplanetary colonization, then it becomes much more likely we are doomed to the same fate as the potential hundreds of thousands of other species who may have gotten to this point but who are not around anymore. In short, finding life on other planets would be really bad news for those of us hoping that human civilization is nearer to its beginning than to its end. Realizing that there are plausible reasons to hope that we are coming into a galactic era when more life will evolve on planets can feel encouraging, but then it's confusing to find out it's maybe a better sign for the future of humanity if we do not discover life on other planets than if we do. I'm honestly not sure what to hope for anymore. It seems the smart money for those who want intelligent life to proliferate is on our not finding any observations. But then it almost feels like you're rooting against discovery. I try and embrace the uncertainty of that. My hope is that I can use the case of extraterrestrial intelligence to practice the kind of healthy religion that encourages a higher ignorance, which enables openness to continual learning and growth. After all, learning about astrophysics and its implications represents most of the control that I have over this situation. Beyond that, it'll be good to remain curious but not anxious, And remember that it is not about me as an individual one way or another. My hoping that we do or do not find signs of intelligent life on other planets ultimately has little or no effect on whether that actually happens. But there are plenty of areas in my life that are filled with uncertainty, where I can embrace that, where if I can embrace that uncertainty, then I will be able to be open to continual learning and growth. Several institutions that play major factors in my life, directly or indirectly, are facing greater uncertainty than they ever have in my lifetime. I'm going to keep doing everything I can to influence them in positive ways, but ultimately control of those situations and those institutions rests beyond my hands. Once I've done what I can to influence things in a helpful direction, I hope to embrace their uncertain outcomes in a way that allows me to be open to learn and grow no matter what happens. May we all learn and practice the cultivation of a higher ignorance that keeps us open to the possibilities of the future. Peace, salam, shalom, and may it be so.